The president of Taiwan is condemning China's recent military drills.
不只是行之有年，更是台湾人民的共同期待。
President Tsai Ing-wen says the exercises did not demonstrate, quote, responsible behavior. Beijing's military drills near Taiwan included a simulation sealing off the island. Afterwards, China said its military is, quote, ready to fight. We go now to Gordon Chang, author of The Coming Collapse of China and the Great U.S.-China Tech War. Gordon, always great to have you with us. First off, what do you think of these actions by China and what they signal? Incidentally, coming just days after Taiwan's president met with Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy.
Well, China always prepares to fight, and we have seen this over the course of decades. But what they're using is the McCarthy-Tsai Ing-wen meeting, plus also the McCall delegation to Taiwan as just an excuse. And Beijing is right now trying to intimidate Taiwan and the United States with these extremely provocative drills. This is what they did after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi went to the island last August, and they will continue to do this because they think that they can actually get the United States to back down. I'm not saying they're right, but that's what they're trying to do. And that's, I think, what they in fact think.
Yeah, and as mentioned, as you also said, Beijing saying their military is, quote, ready to fight. Gordon, really, how seriously should we take all of this? And why are they doing this now?
Yeah, we should take this extremely seriously because whenever your adversary or your enemy tells you something, you should understand that they mean what they say. At this particular time, we know that China is preparing to go to war. It's not only engaged in the fastest military buildup, but Xi Jinping is trying to sanction-proof his regime. He talks about war all the time, and he's actually mobilizing China's civilians for war. So although we don't know what he actually in fact thinks, we know what he is in fact doing. And we have a senior leadership in the Pentagon, both in uniform and civilians, who actually just sort of slough this off, who think, oh, he can't actually mean that. Well, yes, he can. And also, Tracy, the other thing we have to worry about is the possibility of accident, because China is engaging in these extremely belligerent intercepts in the global commons.
Yeah, and Gordon, how do you think the U.S. should respond to all this? I mean, what should we do? And what about the international community? I mean, we recently saw French President Emmanuel Macron. He recently met with President Xi in Beijing, and Macron was even quoted as saying that Europe should not be caught up in a disordering of the world and a crises that aren't ours. Your thoughts on all this?
Well, President Biden should publicly say to Macron, well, if you think that Taiwan is not your fight, then should the United States think that Ukraine is not ours? Macron can say what he wants, but the problem for France and for Germany and some other countries in Europe is that they're not willing to pay for their own defense. And so they rely on the United States. Now, they say all these things because they know that we're Americans and we'll just not pay attention to them. But at some point, we have to say to them that they've got to step up and actually start building up their militaries because Russia intends to move on the rest of Europe. That's clear.
And Gordon, before I let you go quickly, what other stories are you following right now?
Well, I think the most important thing right now is what's happening inside of China, which you have a very soft economy, contracted last year, contracted the first 2 months of this year. The reason why this is important is because Xi Jinping knows he has no answer for domestic problems for which he is considered to be the author of policies that have caused those problems. So his best course from his perspective is to start a war with somebody, distract the Chinese people. We need to understand that weakness inside of China is driving some very, very provocative events externally.
Well, Gordon, always great to get your insights. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.